I don't agree with going in camera, because traditionally going in camera involves a lot of other questions that should be asked in public. And I'm not prepared to go into in camera that could potentially last an hour, because other questions come related to the subject but not specific to a contract or personnel. We're not mentioning anybody's name here. The contract is null and void. It's gone. It's passé. Personally, that contract is gone. We're not talking about diving into a specific another contract. So I don't want to go in camera to ask questions that should be asked in public. Thank you.
Great work, Councillor Parsons. This is something I've heard suggested before. I just haven't heard it suggested on the public record by a sitting councillor. Steve is suggesting that although going into a private meeting away from the public eyes, aka in camera, has legitimate uses under the Municipal Government Act, it may also result in discussion occurring that is not intended for in camera and which should be discussed openly to the public. And that's coming from a councillor that attends them. It's not hard to imagine that when it's a difficult issue, or when someone has to defend why they have to hire 100% more employees than they told us, that they might prefer to be grilled privately. I'm glad Councillor Parsons shut down the suggestion here. I've been noticing over the past couple meetings that there is a trend towards avoiding questions by suggesting certain details need to be discussed privately only. However, it's not a contract. There is no tender or RFP out. It's CBRM operations. And they are not talking about specific employees. They are talking about a process designed by executives and managers and the factors that led to it not working as promised. Now supposedly requiring the doubling of the number of employees that they originally told council would suffice. Yes, there are legitimate requirements for private meetings, but Steve was right to clarify that it wasn't necessary for this meeting and to reveal what else can happen in private meetings. That is, questions can be asked there that don't belong there and which should be open to the public. And those are the words of the councillor that we have on the public record.
I would just note that any of the discussion items and looking at the previous meeting that would get into discussion specific to contract negotiation, personnel matters, or legal advice would be subject to going in camera on only as required.
That was Mayor Cecil Clark right out of the gate, perhaps out of awareness that his Robert Rules of Order protege, Deputy Mayor Glenn Perouche, took his chair in the last meeting and seemed overzealous to shut down elements of the conversation as well. I think Cecil loves private meetings more than Wrecker Rick loves tow ropes.
If you want to talk specifically to the contracts or elements of that affect the personnel and or, as I mentioned, legal advice, it would be an in-camera discussion. So if it's the desire to go in camera, the request, we can go in camera.
There's some questions that are coming from councillors, not specific to yours necessarily, that can probably be answered if we move in camera for a small portion of time.
Stand by, folks. We're going to get to work.